Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on Unscripted. I'm your host, Josh Mansour, and I want to start off by saying a quick thank you to everyone who has subscribed and joined us on this amazing journey. Your support is truly appreciated. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and follow us across all platforms at Unscripted, the show. It helps us keep bringing amazing guests and real conversations. Joining me today, man, we've got someone whose journey is nothing short of inspiring. He's a former two-time world champion, a man who's been on top of the boxing world. He's been knocked down outside the ring and shown a level of resilience that's incredibly rare. He's a fighter in every sense of the word, in sport, in life, and in spirit. Billy Dib, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you again, brother. Good to see you again. What's been happening?
Everything is good, man. I'm just really going with the flow and just trying to do my best to impact the world the best way that I can, man.
You know what I love about you? You're always smiling. you're smiling.
Thank you, boss.
I love it, man.
Smiling is charity, man.
100%.
You know, when you smile at somebody, it's a charity. So I'm always smiling, man. Life's good, you know what I mean? I'm alive.
Man, it's infectious. I love it.
What lot to be happy about, man.
Grateful for, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you still train?
I train all the time, bro. I train every day.
What's your training regime look like now?
I'd like to keep up, obviously, just doing a bit of running, a bit of walking, and I do a lot of boxing as well, man. I just love to hit the pads. I love to stay sharp. You know what I mean? You never know when the next opportunity comes up.
Oh, wow. Is this a teaser? Is this a teaser? I was going to say. Because it wasn't too long ago when you were in a charity match. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't mind doing a couple of charity boxing events. I'm actually going to do one this weekend for a charity called Hussein Foundation.
Oh, nice.
So I'm doing it this weekend in Melbourne. Yeah, man, it's just I like to stay fit, but I just keep dancing on my toes, you know.
What's the foundation? Who are they supporting?
This foundation, Hussein Foundation, man, they look after disadvantaged families around the world, be it Lebanon, Egypt, Pakistan, whoever's going through some sort of adversity, they turn up and they do their best to help and give where they can, man.
You know, with the charity fights, I think your last one, like in the pre-hype to the fight,
yeah,
like you're going at each other quite a bit. I was like, are these guys like, you know, are they gonna keep it, you know, respectful? Because at the end of the day, it's just a charity boxing match. But when you step into the ring, like, do you just like the switch flicks?
Yeah. So the thing is, man, like Paul Fleming, he was a childhood, you know, somebody not childhood, more like in my 20s,
Yes.
sort of come into my gym. Took him under my wing, you know what I mean, sort of guided and nurtured him, and he's just a complete waste of talent. You know, he could have been anything, and he wasted his career away, you know what I mean? Just had opportunities, missed opportunities, things that he just turned down opportunities. He was signed to Top Rank, one of the biggest boxing companies in the world, and he basically, you know, the opportunities that he was given, he turned them down, and so I said, look, I'm going to bring you back to do this exhibition with me. He was dead and gone. Brought him back. He and I discussed that I'd be managing him. You know what I mean? I'm going to guide him to a world championship. And then he did the dirty, man. And he went off and did his own thing after I brought him back. And just very ungrateful person, man. And I have no time for Paul Fleming anymore. And I couldn't care less what goes on for him anymore. You know, prior to that, I cared. Yeah. I wanted to see him succeed. I felt a little bit bad for him, but now I got no time for the guy at all, man.
That's sad, man.
Once you listen, when you go out on a limb for somebody, and I did, to try to bring him back, and I spoke to people overseas about him and put his name out there, and then he went and did his own deal. And when I rang him, I said, mate, what's going on? And he goes, oh, look, I'm not signed to you, man, so I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm like,
is that his response?
I said, are you not a man of your word? And he said, oh, no, look, I've got to do what I've got to do for myself. I said, listen, if you're a man of your word, we shook hands, you honour it like a man. I said, but if you don't, I said, you stand for nothing. I said, so I guess you stand for nothing, mate. And he just went off and did his own thing, and I'm happy that he did that, man.
Were you ever in a position similar to Paul Fleming in your career?
No. I you know, my the thing was that I never gave up, man. I never just said, okay, I took every opportunity, you know what I mean? Opportunities presented, I always took them, you know what I mean? I never said no. I was very active in regards to trying to achieve my goals of becoming a world champion and my dreams, you know what I mean? Like I set the goals, and I was going to stop at nothing until I got there, you know what I mean? And so for me, it's like whenever an opportunity would present, I'd be right on it, you know what I mean? Like I'm 40 now, and if an opportunity presents, and I'm on it too, you know what I mean? That's just how I am. I'm a go-getter. You know, I never sat back waiting for people to give me things. No, I went and got it. You know what I mean? I had this thing growing up as a kid that it was only a matter of time because I believed I was going to have it. I was like, it's only a matter of time, you know what I mean, that I'm going to turn up and whatever I set to get, it's going to be mine because that's just the mindset that I had.
Yeah. You know, with what I noticed with boxing as well, because you've got a tight-knit group and people invest a lot of time and energy into the boxer, right? It's very hard to kind of change teams. Like we saw with Tim Tszyu now, like he's obviously over in the States now with a new team, new trainer and whatnot. Yeah. Have you ever changed teams that have gone through something similar?
See, here's the thing, right? So growing up as a young boy, I started boxing at a very young age, 12 years of age. I walked into Sutherland PCYC. I started training with a gentleman by the name of Rusty Penton. It didn't last long because shortly after that, a relative of mine would introduce me to somebody who would go on to become not just my trainer, but also a father figure, somebody who was a big part of my life. His name was Harry Hamoud. And Harry became that father figure, and he guided me from 0 fights to 113 amateur fights. He guided me to basically 17-0 as a pro, and then he got ill. It's public knowledge, and I'm sure he wouldn't be upset with me to say this, but he fell into drugs, started using heroin and things like that, and so I had to sort of pull away.
Of course.
Even though he remained somebody very close to me, and he remained like a father figure to me, but he was going through his own battles, and I was there for him as much as I could be, and I would always invite him to the fights, and he was always there with me, you know, but obviously he wasn't the lead person in the corner. And then I went through this phase where I trained with my cut man because I sort of needed somebody to look after me. My cut man was Brian Wilmot, but Brian Wilmot sort of knew a little bit about boxing. Actually, he knew a lot about boxing. He started training me, and then after Brian came Johnny Lewis. It wasn't like I wasn't chopping and changing, but I just needed to find somebody to fill in where it was so hard growing up as a 12-year-old all the way to the age of 20, 22, and then all of a sudden you don't have the trainer who guided you. Like me and him had this recipe, and then the recipe changed, you know what I mean? Like the recipe changed, and when the recipe changes, things start to go a bit pear-shaped.
Disruptive.
Yeah, so I was just trying to find somebody to fill in, and then so I eventually I brought Harry back, but it didn't work. You know what I mean? It didn't work. Johnny Lewis was the lead guy.
Yep.
Harry was the the second to Johnny, but it just didn't work. You know what I mean? And so then I went on a soul searching journey, and then after my soul searching journey to Mecca, I bumped into Hussein, who asked me a question about who was training. I said, nobody at the moment, but I'm trying to look for a trainer. He said, why don't you let my brother Billy train you? And Billy was somebody who was involved in my amateur career.
Wow.
He was somebody who I spent a lot of time with in the gym as an amateur. And so when I asked Billy if he could train me, he had a few things that he wanted put in place. And if I was accepting of those, then he said yes, he would train me. But he had one rule, and the rule was that we're not going to fight for a world title for 10 fights. He goes, no matter what happens, no matter what opportunity comes up between 1 and 10, we're not taking it until we get to the 10th fight. And you wouldn't believe it. We had 9 fights. I was ranked number 1 in the world, and we fought for the IBF World Title.
You're joking.
Yeah. So we had 9 wins together. Then I fell into the position of fighting for the IBF World Title.
Yeah.
And we did it, and we won it together.
How do you go from an amateur to a professional?
It's just a transitioning period. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people turn professional without any amateur experience. You know what I mean? It's like a choice that you make, like Bilal Akaway.
Yeah.
Never fought as an amateur.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot of people that never fought as amateurs. They just turn pro and but the thing is, the amateur circuit is like the apprenticeship.
Yep.
You get your apprenticeship, you become a tradesman, and you go on and do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And for me, 113 amateur fights.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I fought tall people, short people, fat people, skinny people. I faced every style, southpaw, orthodox. I knew what I was facing.
Yeah.
And that only came through time and experience. So once I turned professional, everything that I saw in front of me was something that I'd already seen previously in the past. I mean, even though professional boxing is a lot different to amateur boxing, it's longer rounds, more time, You know what I mean? You get to be a little bit more tactical.
Yep.
Yeah, but man, I just I can't believe it's over, to be honest with you, Josh. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I just feel like it went that quick.
I'm the same with you, man. With my
Man,
career.
I'm like, man, sometimes I look back and I'm like, where did time go? I loved every moment of my career, you know what I mean? But I just wish that I enjoyed it a little bit more.
A bit more present?
Yeah, I wish I was a bit more present. I always had this pressure on my shoulders, like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And when I was getting ready for a fight, I was always in this mindset that I just want the fight to be over and done with so I can know what happened.
Wow.
And then I never enjoyed that moment. And so it wasn't until the end that I started to really enjoy what I was doing, you know, because I was like, man, I'm going to savor this moment forever, you know. And so obviously you go through this long career, 46 professional wins. Sorry, 40. So I had 49 professional wins.
I got it right here.
And I had 6 defeats. You know what I mean? So
yeah, so you had 49 wins, 6 losses and 2 draws with 27 wins by knockout.
Yeah.
That's a crazy career.
Actually, it wasn't 2 draws, it was 2 no contests, which means that the fights basically they're not even registered, you know what I mean? But where is time gone? You know, and now I live through watching other people succeed. You know what I mean? Watching young fighters succeed, people who I believe in, people who I feel deserve to be champions at some stage in their life. But here's the thing that I tell young people all the time is that becoming a champion is not easy. It's probably the most difficult thing in the world.
It's a curse and a burden.
Mate, I'm telling you, it's not.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's like you will. If the stars don't all align, you'll never become a champion, man. It's so hard to be a world champion, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people out there who want to be world champions, but there's so much competition out there. And we're blessed at the moment that there's the IBF, there's the WBC, there's the WBO, there's the WBA, there's the IBO. Like, it's great that there's a few sanctioning bodies. At least it gives people a chance to capture that world championship.
Is there a ranking hierarchy as well between all those sanctions?
I mean, I would definitely say that the longest standing is the WBA.
Yep.
I would say that the IBF and the WBC are probably the most respected. You know, but
when you say most respected, what do you mean by that?
I mean, look, you know, with the IBF, if you're the IBF champion, there's no nonsense. You know what I mean? You fight for the title, they give you one voluntary defense, then you have to face the mandatory. And, you know, once you're facing the mandatory, that's like facing the number one contender. You know, he's no joke. The number one contender on most occasions is no joke. He's worked his ass off to get to that position, and he's coming for the belt. And, you know, the greatest thing about boxing is that once you get there, everybody's shaking that platform now. Everybody wants you off that platform.
You're constantly hunted, right? Mate, you were the hunter, now you're the hunted.
Yeah, once you're like in progressively moving up, you're hunter. You're the hunter. Then you get there, and then now you're the hunted. You know what I mean? And it's not an easy place to sit on, man. I'll tell you that much. Sitting on the throne is not an easy thing. And you know what? I applaud fighters who sit on that throne for a long time, because it's not an easy
kicking
thing.
Everyone off the peak.
Mate, I'm telling you, when you got people like Prince Nassim Hamed sat on that throne for 15 fights.
Unbelievable. 15
title defenses. You got people like Canelo Alvarez who have been champions for yonks. Then you had like people like Andre Ward. You know, you had people like you know, you got Bam Bam Rodriguez. You know, you got Inoue. You got all these fighters who sit on the throne for such a long time and give nobody an opportunity to hold that crown, you know what I mean? Especially when they're the undisputed champion, meaning that they have every belt. And don't forget, like Terrence Crawford, oh my God, what an absolute legend. 3-division, undisputed champion.
He's not talked about much either.
Man, he
flies under the radar for some reason.
Let me tell you something. In my opinion, he's one of the greatest fighters of the past and the current generation.
What makes him such a good fighter? Like,
mate,
is it more mindset or is his technical ability?
His technical ability and his mindset is phenomenal. You know what I mean?
You rubbed shoulders with him when he was here, didn't you?
Many times.
Yeah.
I've known him for a while now, and even when he has fought, you know, overseas, like, you know, in the US and that, like, just he hasn't been given the love that he deserves. You know what I mean? Like, he's not given the same love of, like, say, Floyd Maywether.
No.
But in my opinion, he would be somebody that would dissect Floyd. You know what I mean? He was just so clever. From orthodox to southpaw, you know, he always found a way. And look what he did to Canelo, man. Like, it was just a masterclass.
You feel like being a boxer, like, yes, you need to be a good boxer, but you also need to be a showman as well? Do you find like the two kind of conflict with each other?
You know what? Like, being a showman definitely helps, but to a certain extent. Like, Prince Nassim Hamed was the ultimate showman. From flips over the ropes, the walkouts to the ring entrances was absolutely amazing, but he could back it up. So being a showman but then not being able to back it up is a problem, you know what I mean?
That's
so,
detrimental, yeah.
See, the thing about Nas was, even if he was down on the cards, he had that checkmate power. He could take you out with one shot. And so he could be down and then hit you with one good shot and it could be all over. You're not going to remember the fact that he was losing the fight. All you're going to think about is the fact that he knocked the guy out.
Yeah.
And when you're blessed with that kind of power, I think you can get away with being the showman the way that he was, because he knew that he could back it up. And I only ever beat him in the ass once, which when he fought Barrera. You know what I mean? When he fought Barrera, he couldn't deliver, but there was a lot of circumstances around that.
Of course. You've gone from boxing to now managing some talent coming through. Is there any talent that you want to talk about or give them a bit of a plug?
No.
Why?
I think people need to earn their position to be talked about. You know what I mean?
I respect that.
I've learned a heavy lesson because I talked up one specific fighter who I still believe in, but he, I don't know, started to get to his head, I think, you know what I mean? And so I just want him to find his feet again.
I hope so, the fight I'm about to mention.
Yeah, I want him to fight his feet again, and I want him to just really pull himself together, you know what I mean? Because he's got all the talent in the world. He could be anything in the world, but he's really dropping the ball at the moment, man.
It's not Mounir, is it?
It's Mounir Fathi.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's Mounir Fathi, man. You know, in his last fight, he was a 10-1 favorite, meaning that the opponent...
I remember
that.
that.
I mean, it's a 10-1 favorite, meaning that, you know, if the other guy beats him, if you put $1,000 on him, you get 10 grand.
I know.
You put $1 million in him, you got $10 million. So, and Mounir was a 10-1 favorite, and he dropped the ball, man.
I watched the fight. I watched that fight.
Yeah.
And I watched the aftermath of that fight as well. He was obviously very frustrated. He looked pretty fresh to me. Like, there was no... He didn't cop real...
The other guy was getting pretty marked up.
That's what I was saying. And you were kind of surprised by the result as well.
Listen, it was supposed to go that way, but Mounir knocking him out, not him knocking Mounir out, you know what I mean? But, like, Mounir just... I don't know what he was doing. You know, I was trying to advise him, and he was basically telling me to be quiet and just let me do it the way that I don't... Look, he feels like he's... You know, he feels like he doesn't need any help. You know what I mean? He feels like he's capable enough to do it on his own. And at the moment, I'm just letting him find his own feet. You know what I mean?
How old is he now?
He's 30, man. Like, this is a setback that we didn't need. He was going to be ranked in the top 15 in the world.
It's okay. Can he bounce back?
He can bounce back, man. Anything is possible. You know, some of the best fighters in the world suffered major setbacks but found their way back. It's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
When you lose in that fashion, if you don't wake up, then that's on you.
Well, there's two paths, right? You wake up or you stay on that same path.
Yeah, so for me, it's like, you know what? Either he's going to wake up or he's going to continue going down the path that he's going to go down. And, you know, we're going to say that, you know, he could have, should have, and would have.
Well, God willing, he does change. Well,
it's up to him.
Of course it is.
I'm not going to hold his hand anymore. You could take the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink.
That's true. For you personally, when I think of Billy or when I look at you, I think two words: perseverance, resilient. Those two words come to mind every time.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about this book that you come out with, Boys Can Cry. Now tell me about this book and what inspired you to bring it out.
Well, I mean, look, it's the title says it itself. Boys Can Cry, and Billy Dib does too, and it's based on true events. I feel that
personal experience.
Yeah, these are personal experiences. You know, I went through life. You know, if you look at Billy Dib from the outside, you say, "Oh my God, he's had the best life," but I haven't. Life's come with its challenges. You know what I mean? Like, from being bullied at school, you know, having major setbacks in my life, losing loved ones. You know, we all lose loved ones. It's a part of life and a part of the journey of life. But I feel that. You know, especially the bullying thing right now, it's a really big thing in the world that we live in. And I feel that young children and young boys in specific need to be able to express themselves and come to mum and dad and tell mum and dad that they have a problem and that they're going through some issues. You know, but if you are a father or a mother and your child comes to you and you tell your child, stop carrying on like a little girl, you're robbing that child of the ability to express themselves. You're robbing that child of the ability to come to you and tell you that, hey, mom or dad, I have a problem. So then when they run into a problem and then you're like, why didn't you tell me? Well, what about when you told me to stop carrying on like a little girl and stop crying like a little girl? And like, we need to allow our children to express themselves. My son cries all the time. He's just a kid. He's 5. Do you know what I tell him? I said, Dad, you know what? It's okay that you're crying. No problem. Once you're done crying, let's have a talk about what the problem is. And then he'll tell me, you know what I mean? But I don't push him away because I want him to come to me at any stage of his life, whether he's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Hey, Dad, I've got a serious issue. You know, my dad, he allowed us to come and speak to him. My dad nurtured that. My dad allowed me to say, Dad, I've got a problem. Dad, I could cry to my dad. I could say, Dad, listen, man, you know, I really, really am going through something at school and I need your help. And I could cry about it and my dad would help that situation. You know what I mean? My dad did help that situation.
That's massive you saying that, because I fall victim to it as well. Like, I tell my son when he's crying over like the little things, like, don't sweat over it. Like, don't cry. Like, you know, why are you crying over that? You shouldn't be crying over that. But there must be something for a kid to cry. Like,
of course, man. Listen,
and I don't say I know, and I need to change that. My
you know the thing is, Josh, is it's actually you know, like it's how you connect with your child. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's a travesty that we have young people who commit suicide. How have we gotten to the point where young people know how to kill themselves? Like that, like, it's a travesty to me. What are you doing as a mother and a father? Where are you dropping the ball? You know what I mean? Where are you dropping the ball? Like, you know, connect with your kid. Ask them to tell you what's going on. It's okay. You know what I mean? Take them on a holiday. Connect with them. Yeah. You know, like my son, I take him everywhere with me, man. I don't mind wherever I go. I take him. He's my sidekick. You know what I mean?
He's your boy, man.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's my job. My biggest fear about leaving this world was leaving my son behind and feeling like who was going to nurture my kid. Yeah. So, if you're a parent and you know your child has a thing about, oh, he has to be a big tough guy and that, no, get him this book. Trust me, read the book. It's a kid's book. It's watered down, but it tells you the story of my life. You know what I mean? The experiences that I faced in my life.
Well, I told you off camera that it's my son's favorite book, Dad. He's taking it to school with him. Yeah. And you know what? That word connect, like, it's so important, particularly in a world we live in today, where there's so much distractions around us and ways for kids to kind of get distracted and kind of venture off at such a young age. You got your social medias, you got all your technology, your iPads, your iPhones. Like, there's so many ways for kids to be distracted, and it kind of just, I don't know, not want to spend time with your parents as much, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, the thing is, right, is that I actually been going to a lot of schools. Yeah. Lately, I've been going to a lot of schools, and I've been talking to kids about this book. And one girl put her hand up and she said, why is it boys can't cry? Why isn't it girls can cry? And I said, well, let me ask you a question. It's a good question. When was the last time somebody said to you, stop crying like a boy? Never. And it's not something that's ever said, but you hear it all the time. Stop carrying on like a little girl. Stop carrying. Why? Girls and boys should be able to express themselves. You know, we both have the same emotions. Things hurt the same way that it hurts you. You know, it's like, it's a given. You know what I mean? Like, we should allow kids to express themselves, and I'm going to advocate for that, and I'm going to go to schools and I'm going to advocate for that as well. And my biggest goal in life is to help people. I'll tell you, Josh, listen, you know that I faced some really serious setbacks in my life. And my biggest prayer to God was, God, please spare me and give me more time, and I promise you I will do everything in my power to help people. And this is me helping people. Let's be honest. Yes, the book sells, and yes, the book makes a little bit of money, but it's not about the money. It's about the message. It's about helping people. I made a promise to God that if he spares me, I'll do everything in my power to help people. And this is me giving back and me keeping my promise.
Where can people buy it?
People can go to my webpage, which is billydib.com. And you go to the shop section and obviously you can purchase the book right away. You know what I mean? It's $25. If you buy it, I will sign the book and I'll send it to you with a nice message. You know, and like I said, I think this book is a book that's going to be a complete game changer. Mm-hmm. Not only is it being written in English, it's in production right now to be written in Spanish.
Wow.
It's in production to be written in Arabic. It's multilingual. I'm going to be going worldwide with this book.
Impressive, man. Unreal.
And as you can see from the book, it's got some serious backers. Yeah, the WBC, the World Boxing Council, is backing it. Mauricio Suleiman and the team there, who are very dear to me. And also Riyadh Season, who is, you know, the head honcho at Riyadh Season is Turkey Sheikh, and he's basically put his power and weight behind it as well.
I love that, man. It's good to see good people supporting a good book, man.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations. The other book you got going is your autobiography.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can't wait to dive into.
A True Heart is, it's, you know, the title is A True Heart, The Fights of My Life. And, you know, as a young man and as an adult and as a teen, I've been fighting my whole life through the ups and downs of life. And that is truly the best title, A True Heart, The Fights of My Life, because this book ends with me defeating cancer. So, you know, like, obviously it's got from birth to that point of me beating cancer. And I've left no stone unturned in that book. I've told everything. I haven't hidden anything. I'm an open book, you know what I mean? And people know about my life, and I wanted to share my experiences through this book. And this book is not a book about boxing. It's a book about life and overcoming the adversities of life.
I love that, brother. Can't wait to chew into it. Yeah. I want to ask you, you said in school you were bullied. Why were you bullied?
I was bullied because I stood out like a sore thumb. I grew up in an area called Engadine, which is very close to Sutherland Shire, Cronulla, you know, a predominantly white area. You know, most of the kids that I went to school with were blonde-haired, blue-eyed. You know, there was a few darker complexion kids, but I was the only Arab. Me and my brothers were the only Arabs, alongside one more family, which was the Stewart family. But they sort of, you know, their names were Alan Stewart, Andrew Stewart, Jason Stewart. They sort of blended in. And we had names like Imad, Jihad, Muhammad, Nasser, Bilal, Sabrin, Yusuf. You know what I mean? We had like very Arab names, Islamic names, and you know, we stood out like a sore thumb, man. And so we were a target on a daily basis. We would wake up with people throwing eggs at our home, with people spray painting on our fence, go home, you dirty wogs, you know, things like that. And, you know, and then my dad would get us to clean it off with the broom, and, you know, we'd have to put chemicals on it, and like, yeah, man, it was tough, but it bred tough people. That circumstance bred tough people. We went through things that most kids wouldn't like to experience. But my father had this thing about, we're going to kill him with kindness. We're going to continue to remain steadfast in the way that we are as people. We're going to continue to be nice and kind. We're going to serve the community. My dad owned a convenience store, and so we were serving the community, you know what I mean? How are you, sir? Thank you, sir. Have a great day, sir. You know what I mean? Thank you, ma'am. You know, we were taught by our father customer service, how to treat people, how to greet people. And I feel that really helped me in the later stages of my life. You know, knowing how to articulate myself when talking to people. I think this was a tool that I learned through the convenience store. And I definitely feel that the experiences that we faced as kids made us who we are today.
I was going to ask you as well, like, did things get better? But then something popped in my head. Obviously, Engadine being close to Cronulla riots, I think we were in 2003 or 4. Did that heighten everything?
To be honest with you, we were out by then. But things did get better. It got to the point where when we were selling the convenience store, the community was crying. they were in tears. They'd come into our shop and, no, Mr. Dib, don't sell, please, don't leave. We love you guys. And we sort of built relationships, you know what I mean? And the honest truth is that while I was going through what I was going through at school, once I found boxing, I sort of earned my respect.
Because what drew you to boxing? Like, it's daunting to actually step into that world as well.
Yeah, man, I fell into boxing by accident.
Really?
It was an accident. You know, I grew up in a household where we absolutely loved the Rocky franchise.
Oh, of course.
Me and my siblings loved Rocky. And so, you know, I was basically, getting picked on at school, and my dad decided that it was time to do some after-school sports. And my brothers were playing rugby league and they were flourishing. Some of my brothers played Jersey flag. They were doing really well. And so next thing you know, I'm at the footy field and, you know, just training, doing the normal stuff. And then one day the trainer decides that we'll do some pad work and stuff.
Yep.
And I picked up the gloves and hit the pads, and he was really impressed and basically said, mate, you need to go to the Sutherland PCYC. And
wow.
I walked into that PCYC and never looked back. I walked into my destiny, and it was truly one of the greatest moments of my life, man, to be able to walk into your destiny, to see that vision clearly. It's given me now the platform to speak to kids about my experience. You know, my talking points at schools are a few things. Firstly is knowledge is power and power is success. And what I mean by that is that when you go to school and you attain the knowledge, you put yourself in a power position to be able to get a great job one day. The other thing that I talk about is having a clear vision, waking up in the morning and telling somebody you want to be a doctor, sleeping at night saying you want to be a lawyer, waking up the following day saying you want to be a star rugby league player. That's not a consistent vision. That's just a thought. We all have these thoughts every single day.
Of course. Action creates...
But having a consistent vision, having a vision that's so clear that you're so consistent in your approach is me, Billy Dib, walking into the gym. Billy Dib needed to believe in Billy Dib before anybody else would believe in Billy Dib.
You manifested the life that you dreamt
100%.
about.
So I walk into this gym, I see this vision. The vision becomes so clear. I now look for the consistency. What does it take to be a world champion? What does it take to be a star fighter? I found the recipe, and I was very consistent in the approach of that recipe. And once I arrived at that point of a world championship, I became world champion. That I arrived at that point of success. So vision, consistency, success. Billy Dib had to believe in himself before anybody else would believe in him. Hence the reason why the book says believe, BILLYVE, because Billy Dib had to believe in himself before anybody else would.
Where does the belief come from? Especially after such a young age, getting all that bullying and hurt. Where does it come from?
I always had the drive to succeed. I always wanted to win. I hated team sports because I couldn't control what you were doing. Do you know what I'm saying? As much as I wanted to win because I'm a winner. And if you didn't want to win and you just wanted to have fun on the weekend, then we were going to lose. And so once I found boxing and I found out that this is mono against mono, this is me against you, this is whether I'm going to work hard or not. And I was always a hard worker. So it was like I fell into this thing, to this love of like, I'm in control of my own destiny. I can fight as hard as I want. I can run as hard as I want. I can train as hard as I want. If I want to succeed,
all falls back on you.
It comes back to me. Does Billy Dib want to be successful? Hence the reason why I told you. Vision, consistency, success. Billy Dib had to believe in himself before you believed in Billy Dib. I'm telling you, coming up as a young man, I had people tell me, you'll amount to nothing. Matter of fact, and I'm sure Billy Hussein wouldn't mind me saying it, Billy Hussein told me on a bus to Canberra, I'll never forget it because it was something that was the driving force to me becoming a world champion. Billy Hussein told me at the age of 13 on a bus that I would never become a world champion. And he said to me,
thank you.
He said to me,
thank you for saying
he said to me that my brothers haven't even won world championships. What makes you think you're going to win one? And do you know what I said to him at the time? Because I was very fast-mouthed. I said to him, I'm cut from a different cloth. And I said to him, but your brothers are going to become world champions, but just in time. I said, but I'm going to become world champion. I'm going to show you. And he said, well, show me. When I won my first world title, Billy came in to congratulate me. It was the IBF World Title. I said to him, isn't this a title you said I'd never win? And he goes, well, that's just the IBO World Title. I said, it's just a starting point.
I love how he just throws it off like that.
And then I became the IBF World Champion with him in my corner. And I remember walking into the change room, and no word of a lie, he was knelt forward with his head in his hands, and I come in from underneath him and I put the belt underneath him and I said to him, hey, Billy, wasn't this the World Championships you said I would never win? I said, we just won it together. You know what I mean? So like, I never forget. You know, if you told me that I couldn't do something, I was going to do it.
I'm very similar.
Yeah.
I've got a very similar story.
I had a very, very strong mindset. I was never going to give up.
I had a teacher told me that once. It broke me, shattered me to pieces.
Really?
He goes, you will never play first grade. I don't even know why you're playing footy. Like a teacher said that to me at school. It broke me. I remember I used to play it in my mind, and every time I played it in my mind, it'd make me angry, it'd make me upset, but it actually gave me fuel to want to prove him wrong.
Well, let me tell you, a teacher said that to me. You know what I said to him? I said to him, we'll see about that.
I love that.
He said to me, you will amount to nothing. And I said to him, we will see about that.
Did you pay him a visit?
Hell yeah, I did. Of course I did.
Good on you.
Of course I did.
Good on
you
you.
told me I amount to nothing. I just wanted to show you that I amounted to something.
I love that.
But at the end of the day, let's be honest. My success wasn't just my success. Billy Dib didn't arrive at the point of becoming a world champion by himself. There were so many people that were there along the way.
Yeah, of course.
Number one, before anybody, I got to give it to Harry. You know, Harry, who was my childhood trainer. First, I got to put God first.
Of course.
God first, because nothing happens without God's permission. But God put Harry in my life. Harry was the driving point. My brother Emad, my brother Jihad, my brother Yusuf, Nasser, my sister Sabrina, my mum, my dad, all of the trainers, Billy Hussein, Johnny Lewis, Brian Wilmot, you know what I'm saying, Robert Garcia, all of these people. Billy Dib would have never become Billy Dib without the love and support of these people. Every single sponsor who came on board, everyone who gave me $1, you know what I mean, people like Rob Mellum, Joey Mellum, who owned M8 Telecom for a long time, the Greenberg family from Lonsdale. Like, who is Billy Dib without these people? Nobody. They gave me the fruits in order for me to be able to eat.
Well, they believed in Billy Dib as much as Billy Dib believes in himself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you, everywhere that I went, I let people know that Billy Dib was going to be world champion. I spoke about it all the time. I believed in me. And hence the reason why I believe that my brand, Believe, is going to blow up one day. It's going to be a big brand.
You thanked God. You put him on as your number one. Did you ever feel like it conflicted with your faith, like being a boxer?
No.
Because isn't in the Quran that it's haram? Is it?
Yeah. So
I know it's interpreted differently.
Yeah. So people say that it's forbidden to punch people in the face.
Yeah.
And it's true. It is forbidden to punch people in the face, but for me, it was a sport.
Yeah.
And look, man, like boxing gave me the platform to be inspired and to inspire
and to make change, positive change.
Yeah. And so I used my platform to do good.
Yeah, that
you
makes
know
sense.
what I mean? I never used my platform to do bad things. I always used my platform to do good, to try to inspire people, to try to guide people, to try to nurture people. You know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, my success only came through God's permission.
I love that.
Whether I won or lost, I was always grateful. Whether I won or lost, I always prayed. I always got down on my knees and said, thank you, God, for the loss, or thank you, God, for the win. I appreciate you.
Talk me through when you first won that title.
I'm going to talk about the IBF World Title, because to win that world title was a life-changing moment, literally, because that title that I won, the IBF World Title, legitimized Billy Dib as a legitimate world champion, as somebody who's in the history books forever.
Career defining?
Cannot be taken away. So definitely yes. But when you mention featherweight champion in Australia, you can only think of Johnny Famechon, Jeff Fennick, and Billy Dib. We're the only 3 Australians to ever win a world championship in the featherweight division. Add the IBO World Title, and that puts me in the same sentence as people like Lester Ellis, Barry Michael, Robbie Peden, Gary Sinclair, so...
Illustrious group.
I've definitely, I've been involved in 11 world championship fights, a youth world title where I won, and 5 world title wins and 5 world title losses.
You spoke about it before as well, how everything just went like that.
Yeah.
And I love asking this to former athletes. Like, if you could go on a time machine to go back in time and relive that career, would you?
If I could go back to a time, yes, I would. I definitely would. Can I tell you something? The greatest thing about being world champion was 2 things. I could get access, myself and my family could get access to things that other people couldn't get access to. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that my younger brother could go to school and tell his friends that his brother's a world champion. That was one of the major highs for me, that my brother, who's just a young boy, goes to school and tells his mates that, hey, my brother Billy Dib's world champion.
What's the hardest thing people don't see being a champion?
The hardest thing that people don't see is that the hard work that goes into it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and they don't see what goes on behind closed doors. Obviously, the heartache of losing a world championship, the heartache of trying to rebuild. I had good people around me, like my brothers, and I would definitely say Prince Nassim Hamed. Even when I lost the championship, they'd be like, listen, once a champion, always a champion. And Prince Nassim rang me when I lost the title and he said, I got to tell you something. I said, what is it? And he goes, once a champion, always a champion. You're always going to be the champ. And I was like, man, that means a lot to me. Especially coming from people like him who have reigned for such a long time and were at top for such a long time.
So you believe it's harder to keep the belt than fight for it, right?
Winning it is hard, but keeping it is harder.
Yeah.
Because everyone's trying to knock you off that platform, man.
Everyone wants what you got.
Yeah, 100%.
Can you give me one more moment in your career where, like, your back was against the wall, nothing was going right, nothing was going according to plan, but you had to dig deep to come out with a win? Is there any fights that stand out for you?
100%.
Sure.
So when I was fighting for the IBO Super Featherweight World Title against Zelani Morali on the undercard of Anthony Mundine versus Crazy Kim at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. They call it Zoo Castle now. So I was preparing for this fight. Sugar Shane Mosley made his way over to Australia to be alongside me.
Yeah.
He was, at the time, a really close person to me. I was signed to the Golden Boy Promotions. He was a mentor, somebody that I live with, somebody that I train with. And so I'm preparing for this fight. And, during my time in the media, I'm talking about how I refuse to lose. You're going to take me out on a stretcher. I will die in the ring before I leave that ring without that belt. I'm destined to be a champion. This is everything that I've ever wanted. And so eventually I get to the point where this is now for real. It's fight week and my opponent turns up and I see him for the first time and he's a giant, like a giant. He's literally a giant. And he looks so skinny and frail at the weigh-in. In my mind, I'm thinking, I could break this guy. He's a toothpick. And then I start to get these emotions that, what if I do lose? What if I don't win? What if everything that I've talked about all of my life, what if I fail? And so now I start crying. And bro, I'm crying like a lot. Like I'm talking like shedding so much tears. I can't contain myself anymore. So then my brother's like, man, like, bro, you put yourself together. So call my mum, man. I can't call my mum. So he rings my mum and I'm like, Mum, if you don't come, I'm not getting in the ring.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in the ring. She said, what do you mean? This is everything you've ever wanted, all your dreams. You're going to do it. You're going to be a champion. I said, Mum, if you don't come to Newcastle right now, I'm not getting in the ring. So I stayed in my room the whole time until my mum got to Newcastle.
Wow.
And then when my mum got to Newcastle, She come up and had a talk to me in the room, and I remember just bursting into tears, crying, and just being like, Mum, what if I don't? What if I lose? And what if I fail? And then Shane Mosley told my mum to step out of the room, and he gave me this pep talk about, you're going to be the champ, and we signed you up at Golden Boy because we believe in you, and I saw what you can do, and you're going to do it, and I know you're going to do it, and let's go, come on, let's go, champ, pull yourself together. So I wiped the tears, pulled myself together, and then we got in the elevator, went down the elevator, and when we arrived downstairs in the lobby area, all of my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, my friends, my fans were all in the lobby clapping for me.
What a feeling.
I burst into tears and I ran back upstairs, man.
What?
I burst into tears and I ran back upstairs because I was like, I don't want to let them down, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so eventually, Shane obviously helped me pull myself together, wipe the tears. But, man, I probably spent about 3 or 4 hours crying on that day. Like, you could imagine how much energy I wasted.
Yeah.
Then I eventually get to the venue, and Brian Wilmot, who I love with all my heart, gets out tape that you tape the hands with and writes in big writing on the wall, win. W-I-N. Just that, win. And he's like, that's the mindset you're going to have. You're going to win. By hook or crook, you're going to win. You know what I mean? And so then Johnny Lewis was taping my hands and everything. Brian taped my hands. Johnny was sorting a few things out. Mm-hmm. And then just as we were getting ready to go out, I said to Johnny, Johnny, do me a favor. Don't let me lose this fight. Whatever happens, don't let me lose this fight. And he's like, nah, champ, you're going to win. And I'll tell you, for the first time in my career, I was knocked down in the early stages of that fight. And when I got knocked down, when I got back up, the first 2 people that I could see that were directly in front of me were Costa Zoo and Sugar Shane Mosley. And they're both telling me just to relax, calm the situation. Anyhow, man, it was a dogfight. It was an absolute dogfight. And I got to round 9 and Johnny Lewis said, Billy, I'm going to throw the towel in. He goes, no one's going to question your balls, mate. You've shown a warrior spirit. He goes, but mate, this could be getting away from us. And I looked at him and I said, Johnny, don't you dare throw that towel in. You let me die in the ring. Don't you dare. He goes, all right, mate, then I'm going to give you another round. Go out and show me what you're going to do. And so I went out and I just absolutely brought it back on, man. Round 10, 11, 12, I brought it home, man. And wow. I won the fight by unanimous decision. And I could honestly tell you that moment in my life where I was given an option to quit, and I didn't do it. Because let me tell you something about quitting. Quitting is a chain reaction. If I had to quit in that moment, I would have quit for the rest of my life. And I made a decision right then and there that I was not going to quit, and that I'll never quit, and that my life and the experiences of my life have given me opportunities to quit on so many occasions.
Sure.
And I've said no. No. I'm not quitting. I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to be that person that causes that chain reaction of quitting. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to inspire people to know that it's okay to quit, because it ain't okay to quit. It's never okay to quit. It's okay to lose, but it's never okay to quit, because in life we have losses. But I can tell you, when that judge, and I mean when the announcer,
oh wow, what a feeling,
said, and the new IBO super featherweight champion of the world, and then he said Billy Dib, the emotion that came out of me was unbelievable. But I can tell you that fight was definitely a point in my life where I lost something within myself, because I went to a place of death literally to win that fight. And people often ask me this question, mate, what does it take to be the best? And I tell them, what it takes to be the best is to go to a place that the opposition is not willing to go to. And sometimes that's a place of death.
Do you feel like you gave a piece of yourself to sacrifice?
I definitely do. On that night, I gave a piece of myself. And no excuses, but the Billy Dib that came after that, it took a long time for me to find Billy Dib again.
What was the toughest loss in your career?
I would definitely say the toughest loss of my boxing career was losing the IBF Featherweight World Title to Evgeny Gradovich. It was, I didn't even know how I lost the fight, to be honest with you. It was 115, 113, Billy Dib, 114, 115, 114, 115 to Gradovich. So he beat me by 1 point. The referee deducted a point off me in, I think it was round 8 or round 9 for holding, which I wasn't. But even as close as the fight was, I was the champ. You got to take it from the champ. And he didn't take it.
Yeah.
But I was not the same person after that. I was never the same fighter after that fight. A piece of my heart was robbed on that night. And I don't ever think that I performed at the elite level ever again after that.
Yeah, you hear this a lot with boxers, and there's a lot of resentment that comes after that. It's hard to get back into your best boxing.
That's why I actually really feel bad for Tim Tszyu, because I've been where he's been and I know what he's doing, and I've tried to do that and it didn't work. You know, I went off and trained with Robert Garcia and I thought, let me try to resurrect this thing. And there's something called a tin can. We all have there's a tin can, right? And if you tap that tin can so many times, eventually you'll dent that can, even if it's full with whatever drink it's in it. You'll dent it. And I truly believe that as good as Tim was and as good as the stuff that he did, but I don't believe that can's resilient anymore. I think that tin can's been dented, and I don't know who he's gonna fight next, but I just feel that once that can's been dented and you face somebody who can dent that can again, you're gonna get dented again. And that's just how it is. That's life.
We hope not. We wish him all the best.
Man, I really hope not. And I hope that Pedro Diaz can turn him around the same way that he turned around Miguel Cotto. But I just feel that I know the damage that he copped, man. That it's not, like 3 fights, the damage that he copped against Fedor in the first fight, then the Bakram fight, and then this is a Murzallayev. It was Murzallayev. I think it was Bakram Murzallayev.
Well, he fought Fundora twice.
And then he fought Fundora again, and that was another, destructive loss. Like, it's like, man, that's just damage upon damage upon damage. But all we can do is wish him all the best. And as fellow Australians, we're going to support him. But it's not easy to come back from that.
After building your career in Australia, you said you linked up with Golden Boy, right? And then it's pretty well documented. You linked up with the Money Team, 50 Cent.
Yep.
Thinking back, obviously in hindsight now, if you could have your time again, would you stay with Golden Boy?
No.
Okay. Why?
I had a great time with Golden Boy, and the doors were always open for me to go back. But I feel like I needed to step away from there to find myself again, because the truth is that if I was going to stay with Golden Boy at the time when I lost my first professional loss against Stephen Loevno, the rebuild was going to be very difficult because they were going to put you in against really stiff opposition. You know what I mean? Like, it was going to be hard. And so, I got the opportunity to come back and to rebuild my own way, and with the team and, with the guidance, obviously, like Billy Hussein and my brother Emad, and they got to choose who and how to maneuver.
Yep.
And obviously, once you get to that point where you can't maneuver anymore, then you're ready, and I was ready. But in hindsight, if I could go back, I'd never sign that contract with TMT and 50 Cent. I would have just stayed on the course that I was on. I was on a good course, but I just felt like linking up with them was going to offer me the opportunity to change my life.
Big platform. And
as good as it was at the start, it fell apart really quick, man. But it is what it is. That's life.
Does this stem from the relationship between 50 and Floyd?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
I was caught in the middle.
Yeah.
I was just caught in the middle. I was caught in the crossfire. But that's life. Can I tell you something? Nothing in your life befalls you without the permission of God. So everything that happened to me in my life is only by God's permission.
Happens for a reason.
And the platform that I have today is only through the setbacks that I faced in my life.
That's true.
I wouldn't be able to go to businesses or schools or companies and talk about my life the way that I do if I hadn't faced the adversity that I did. And I'm grateful.
How did you guys connect in the first place?
I met Floyd Maywether and 50 Cent on the undercard of De La Hoya versus Mayweather. I fought on the undercard
Oh, wow.
at MGM Grand.
Oh, wow.
And right after the fight, I was outside of Oscar De La Hoya's change room. I was waiting for them to let me in. And Floyd Maywether and 50 Cent were walking through the back with their own camera crew. And then Floyd stopped the camera crew and was like, man, I watched you fight. And I was like, I think he's like, you're the future of boxing. He goes, I love the way you move. I love, your eyes, your speed. You box really well, man. I was really impressed.
Have you ever seen that interaction on video?
No, and then he said to me, he actually said to me, he goes, how long have you got left on your contract? And I was like, got a couple of years. And he's like, come see me when your contract's through. And I was like, all right, no worries, man. And then the day before that, at the weigh-in, I tried to get a photo with 50 Cent, and his bodyguards wouldn't have it because I was with Team De La Hoya. And then when that happened, I was like, hey, 50, can I get a photo? Me and my dad, he's like, yeah. So we ended up getting photos with him, and I was like, to the bodyguard, like, I got the photo, man.
I love that story. Did he walk out with you? I saw he did it with the Ubek.
Yeah, he walked out with me on a couple of occasions.
What songs is he singing?
It's a new day. It's a new day. Yeah, so yeah, man. It was supposed to be a new day, but it turned into a tragedy.
Oh no, unfortunately. Was there any opportunity to like repair the bridge?
With him?
Yeah.
No.
Just don't.
No. Like
I know you've said it before. You've forgiven him.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
it.
moved on with your life.
Because
he was here. He was actually here in Australia a couple of months back filming Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Did you? Obviously, you knew he was here.
Yeah, I knew. I left that chapter behind me a long time ago, man. Look, life is a very interesting journey, and let me tell you, man, it's like life moves really quick, and before you know it, it'll be over. So I choose to spread love rather than hate. You know what I mean? There's no point hating anybody. We all have our, ups and downs in life. That was a journey where it is what it is. What happened, happened. We can't turn back the clock. We could just learn to accept it and move forward and just forgive people.
You're pretty vocal for your love of God.
Yes.
But there was one time in your life where I'm sure you would have asked him a lot of questions, and that would have been the first time your wife told you she had cancer and unfortunately passed away. Can you tell me, and can I take you back there? Like, what was that moment like for you in your life?
To be honest with you, man, it was, you never think it's going to be you.
Because I feel like things happened before that. It was like almost like a domino effect of negative setbacks. Yeah. Like you were like, what is going on? I'm sure you would have been asking questions.
I did ask myself that. I was like, man, this is like, cause let me tell you, like,
you're a good person.
Yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Well, I mean, that means a lot to me, but I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I remember May the 1st, and I remember going to Japan and fighting for the WBC World Title, and I lost by technical knockout. I was knocked down, but I got back up, but I just couldn't continue. And I remember coming back, and Sarah was pretty hysterical when I lost in that fashion. She was in a really bad state on the phone, and I told her, Sarah, I'm not going to do that to you anymore. I'm going to put boxing in the back burner. The only thing that matters to me is me and you getting married and starting our life, and I'm not going to do this to you anymore. Don't worry, I'll find other things. And she was like, no, I want you to do what makes you happy. And I was like, well, marrying you will make me happy, you know what I mean? And so, our wedding was set for December the 5th of 2015. This loss happened in May, and like, just things just went like crash and burn after that point. Like, Sarah told me about a lump that was on her neck. That lump on her neck decided to go away, then decided to come back, and then her mum decided that it was best to go and get a biopsy, and we did that. Went to get this biopsy in Cronulla. I left them, went home. They went back to Cronulla, back to their home in Cronulla, and basically I got a phone call a few hours later from Sarah saying that they've called me and asked me to come back to the clinic, and I said to her to wait. I'll drive to come with you. And she was like, no, I'll go by myself, and my mum's going to go with me. And her mum got on the phone and assured me that she was going to go with her and said, no problem. Anyway, she didn't ring me. She rang me a few hours later and basically said, I got some really bad news. And she asked me if I was sitting down, and I said yes. And she said, look, I've got cancer. And I was like, no, you don't. And she burst into tears. And that was the start of our journey through cancer, like for the first time, you know what I mean? Like, so I went to her home and, you know, basically, you know, she wasn't in a good state. She was really negative and taking it really hard, which you do.
Of course.
You know, it's not an easy thing for a young girl at the time. She was only, at that time, like 20. You know what I mean? It's like hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, you know? And so I tried my best to sort of uplift her and to give her that, you know, to be that stand-up person for her. And she went through her journey, and in the end, God decided that it was time for her to come back to Him, because just like God gives, God takes, and God decided to give her life, and then God decided to take her back. And, you know, the truth is that I get uncomfortable talking about it, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I'm so uncomfortable talking about Sarah's situation is because I don't feel like I honoured her in her death. Do you know what I mean?
In what way?
I don't feel like I honoured her death. I don't feel like I honoured her parents. I made a lot of mistakes and I needed help. Hence the reason why I've written that book, That Boys Can't Cry, because I needed help and I didn't ask for help, man. I'm gonna open up to you about something that I've never opened up to anybody about before. Nobody. I never honoured Sarah, and I never honoured her parents in her death, even though I mourned her. But 6 months after Sarah passed away, being in such a dark place and just wanting a friend, I was introduced to another girl by the name of Sarah, and I felt like she was the godsend. I felt like she was a godsend to me, and she said she had the same name as Sarah. She had blue eyes like Sarah. You know what I mean? Like, I was just looking for Sarah. I was looking for who had left.
You're also looking for comfort.
I was looking for, the truth was I was looking for Sarah. I wanted her back. You know what I mean? And so this other Sarah that walked into my life, maybe I'm at fault because I was in such a dark place, and instead of asking for help, I just brought somebody else into my misery. And, through doing that, I lost my relationship with Garda and Ibi, with Sarah's brother Tarek, with his sister Jasmine. I made a promise to Sarah that I would look after her siblings, and I never got the chance to make good on that promise because I was in such a dark place. I never asked for help. I wish I asked for help, and I wish I never made the mistakes that I did. But I ended up marrying Sarah a year after Sarah passed away, and it fell apart quicker than it started. It was over within months, and I live with that regret for the remainder of my life. But one thing that I do know is that the greatest thing to happen to me in my life was my wife Berry walking into it. When Berry walked into my life, everything changed. But that was after getting help. I needed help, and once I got the help, I was in a clear mind state, a state of mind where I could help myself and I could help somebody else around me. But at the point when Sarah died, I needed help. I wasn't in a state to bring somebody else into my life. I was going through my own turmoil, and I brought somebody else into that. And then that person took advantage of the situation and made some really, horrible allegations, you know what I mean? But that's life. But today I have the most beautiful wife and I have the most beautiful son, and I see the light shining from both of them, and they give me hope they give me hope and they give me the drive to succeed in my life. They are my why factor. And that's all I need. If I have the why factor, I'll continue to succeed.
I appreciate you being so vulnerable, brother. Not only that, like you owning up and saying, you know what, I made a mistake. I am sorry. That takes a lot of bravery to do.
Man, I'll tell you.
In a world where accountability is very rare to come by.
I really, like every year that is Sarah's birthday and every year that's Sarah's, passing day, I always send a text message to her mum saying, I'm always thinking of you. She never responds, but I send it anyway. I'm not looking for them to get in touch with me or anything like that, but I just feel like I did wrong. But I want them to know that I was in a really dark place and that if I wasn't in that dark place, I would have never done that.
Yeah.
But I needed help, but I was ashamed. How can Billy Dib, a world champion, ask for help? How could I ring my brothers and tell them to help me? How could I ring my mom and dad and tell them that I'm in a really dark place and I need help? I'm supposed to be somebody that inspires other people, And so that's the reason why this book has come to fruition, is because I went through my dark spots, and I know people go through dark spots. I'm not the only person. I'm not in this fight alone. And so I need to help people.
We actually caught up last week. This is what freaked me out when we first caught up. Went to Frank and Cheese Cafe in Elwood.
Yeah.
We sat down, you and me. Good to catch up. Let's come on a podcast. Let's do this thing. We spoke about the book. But you also told me it was the same cafe that you found out that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Yeah, so I...
out of all cafes I had to book to meet up.
So we met up at Frank and Cheese. And I'm glad I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I revisited it because... if you hadn't invited me, I would have never gone there again. But
did you feel funny coming to the cafe?
When I parked up and I realized where I was, I felt like this feeling come over me. But I remember it was a friend of the G'd Up team by the name of Paul. He contacted me and said, let's meet up at Frank and Cheech, and I met him then. And I remember that's when I was sort of feeling this really bad pain in my stomach and not knowing what was going on. But I remember him sitting there and telling me, talking to me about the brand and about building the brand of Believe and how we're going to do it and what the process is and that. But all I could think about was, I wish he'd hurry up and finish because I just got to go. I'm going to die while I'm at this cafe.
Did you actually feel that? Like, what were you experiencing?
I felt like my stomach was going to burst. I felt like there was something that my tummy was about to pop. And so that was basically the starting point of of this journey through cancer, and it started with colon cancer. It was rectified. I went home a week later. I'm fighting for my life again. But the first time that I went to the hospital, when they found the colon cancer was one thing. Then when I went back the second time, it was another thing. But the first time when my brother dropped me off at the hospital, I told him, I said to him, listen, drop me off and go. And he's like, no, I'll park it. I said, listen, go. I'm going to be here for a long time. I guarantee you I'm going to be here for a while. Go back to your family. And so I told my brother to leave, which I wish I didn't, because what happened to me moments later was I remember asking the woman at the counter. I said, my name is Billy the Kid. And she's like, it's lovely to meet you, Billy the Kid. And I was like, no, I'm Billy the Kid. But really what I was supposed to say to her was that I'm a patient of Dr. Pran, and he's told me to tell you that I'm a patient of him. You're supposed to help me right away because I was in a really bad state. Instead, she says to me, can you go fill out this form? So I fill out the form. I left my bag on the chair, and I asked her if she could keep an eye on my bag because I need to go outside. And next thing you know, I wake up and I'm in the emergency ward. And I have no idea. The only recollection of something I have was sort of vaguely waking up and some guy was slapping me in the face saying, mate, are you there? Are you okay? You okay? And I was like, am I dead? And he's like, no, you're alive. And I was like, I felt like I was in a really bad state, but then I woke up in the emergency ward, and I remember waking up and there was a doctor there by the name of Dr. Sanjay, and he asked me a question saying, can you explain to me what's going on? And I said to him, there's something growing in my stomach. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, there's something growing in my stomach. I can't go to the toilet. I'm struggling to go to the restroom. Something's going on.
Has this been happening since, before that, prior to that event? Or was it just then when you were noticing it?
No. I took a shot in the gym. I took a body shot in the gym. But you know the symptoms of cancer are fatigue, a lot of fatigue. And I was very fatigued all the time. I was sleeping at different times of the day, always napping. You know what I mean? Just thinking that I'm tired from training.
And how long before this?
This was happening for about a month, where I'll just be taking random naps. And then, you know what is the craziest thing, Josh, is that I look back and you know what the craziest thing is that Sarah was suffering the same symptoms. She was always tired. And I was always saying to her, like, why are you always tired for? What's going on? And she's like, I don't know. I was up last night studying, but I got some sleep but I'm tired. And I'm like, because she was sort of like,
you can't sympathize with that because you're in a training camp.
Yeah, because I want to hang out. But she's like, I'm too tired to hang out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you're too tired? You don't want to hang out with me? And so, like, when I'm looking back, I'm like, man, I was going through the same symptoms, but I just didn't know. And so, you know, once I got to the hospital, once I got back to the hospital the second time, that first time they rectified the issue. Then the second time that I went back, when my wife Berry took me back to the hospital with my son Laith and they dropped me off, I was in the worst state, man. I vomited close to 50 times. At that point, I was no longer vomiting. I was actually just dry reaching, but blood specks were flying into the bag from how hard I was vomiting. And then, you know, I needed help. I was in desperate need of help. And I basically threw my hands up and said, God, if you can hear me, God. But prior to doing this, I actually did a video for my son Laith, basically saying goodbye to my son Laith and my wife Berry and to my family. I put it was in my phone. I knew that somebody would open my phone eventually. And so I just did this video, like basically saying goodbye, that I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm gonna die, you know what I mean? And so I put my hands up and I said, God, please, I'm begging you right now. If you've opened up a place for me in heaven, just take me now because I can't take this pain anymore, or please send somebody to help me. And I swear to you, moments later, a nurse walked past me and I was like, please help me for the sake of God. He's like, I can help you, but you got to help me help you. And I was like, what do you need? And he's like, I need you to swallow the tube. And I was like, how do I swallow the tube? I can't do it. Can you please put me to sleep? He goes, I can't because I need you to swallow the tube. Anyway, he come back with some help. He brought two nurses. One nurse had a cup of water and the other nurse was just there to console me and to hold my hand. And he says to me, I want you to squeeze her hand as tight as you need to squeeze it. And I need you to drink the water when I tell you to drink. He goes, I'm going to feed a tube through your nose, down your throat, and it's going to relieve you, I promise you. And as he's doing it, I'm like, I'm choking. And he's drinking. I'm like, and drinking, you know, and I'm going to vomit in that. And then eventually I just take a sip of this water and the tube goes down my throat, you know, and so it's finally in my stomach and he basically pumps out a bucket about that big of whatever was in my stomach, but I had already vomited nearly 50 times. So where the hell do you get that much stuff in a bucket that big out of my tummy? But he did. Wow. He pumped it out with his pump through my nose, right? And then he relieved me. And then basically I was so exhausted, Josh. I hadn't slept in maybe 15 hours. I was so exhausted. And he gave me a sleeping tablet and knocked me out. And I remember waking up, and when I woke up, somebody was holding my hand and telling me that everything was going to be okay. And it was a dear friend of mine by the name of Vittel. And I couldn't talk because the tube was in my nose and my throat. And he told me, you need to say anything. I'm just here with you as support. I love you, and you're going to get through this. And so they ended up taking me in for, they basically cleared everything out. They worked out that I can't take any solids and everything like that. I've got to keep it very like water-based. And yeah, man, it was just a hell of a journey, man.
How long was the journey? How long did it last for?
From start to finish was about 6 months. But I remember being in a room with my mum. This is the second time that I'm back at the hospital after they've removed the colon cancer. She's like, listen, I know that there's nothing wrong with you. God would never do anything to me to hurt you or hurt me. And so she would pretty much just said to me, like, you're gonna be fine. And then moments later, a doctor walks in and basically says, you're in a really bad state. You've got anywhere from 5 to 6 months to live. And I look back at my mum, who then bursts into tears, and I'm thinking to myself, this is my chance to stand up and not be a quitter again. And I basically said to him that I can't die. And he asked me why. And I said, listen, I got a son who's on the verge of turning 3. I got a wife. I got family. I got friends. I got fans. I got people that look up to me, and I'm not going to die. I said, cancer picked the wrong opponent, and I'm not giving in. And that was my moment again to stand up and say that I'm not a quitter, and I'm not going to build a family of quitters. I'm not going to quit and give my wife permission to quit. I'm not going to give permission to my wife to quit, who's going to then give permission to my son to quit. I'm not going to have a transition of quitting in my family, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I said, you know what? For the sake of my son Laith, and for the sake of my wife Berry, and my mum and dad and my siblings and my friends and my fans, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to fight this cancer head on, and I'm going to go all out with this cancer, and it's going to be one winner, and it's going to be me.
Why did the doctor feel you had 5 or 6 months to live? How can you say that?
Because I was riddled, man. I was riddled with cancer, and I had already told the doctors that were there that I won't be doing any chemotherapy. And they were like, why? And I was like, my wife died from chemotherapy. So he knew that I had a reluctance to take the chemo. And when he came in to talk to me, I basically said to him, listen, I won't be doing any chemo because my wife died from chemotherapy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some other, forms of remedies to help me get better. And he said, listen, I'm just letting you know, you're that riddled that by the time you come back, it'll be too late. I can't save you anymore. He goes, because the cancer that you have is a rapidly growing cancer. He goes, but it's very treatable. He goes, if it's treated correctly, you can beat it. If it's not treated correctly, you will die within 5 months.
What other remedies were you trying to use?
Man, I was just thinking that I'm going to try some different things, you know what I mean? Like holistic ways.
Yep.
Because Sarah lost her battle to cancer through dying from the chemotherapy. It wasn't the cancer that killed her, it was the chemotherapy that killed her. So obviously I'm going to be very reluctant. But once he told me that I wouldn't have much more time, and that I started thinking about my son, and I started thinking about my son needs to go to school in 2 years' time. Who's going to walk him to school? And that became my why factor. I'm going to walk my son to school by hook or crook. Like I told Johnny Lewis, like I've told everybody else, I'm going to be a champion. I'm going to champion this cancer. I'm going to beat the shit out of it, and I'm going to walk my son to school. And that was my moment to shine.
Here you are today, brother.
No doubt.
Unbelievable. After all of that, you still decide to make a comeback and step into the ring, December 2024. Why?
At the point where I was diagnosed with cancer, I hated the sport of boxing so much. I despised the sport of boxing. I hated the people that were involved in the sport. I hated the promoters. I hated the sharks.
What made you hate the sport? Did you feel like the sport turned its back on you? Is that why?
I felt like boxing robbed me of everything. The situation with 50 Cent, all of these things. And then I get a phone call just as I'm going through the cancer journey from Mauricio Suleiman, who's the boss of the WBC. And he's at the WBC convention. And he says that, Billy, I'm at the WBC convention and all of these great champions are here and we're all rooting for you and we're going to see you at the next convention. And I said to him that, I don't think you will, man. I think it's going to be very, very hard, Mauricio. I'm going to try. He said, no, you're a fighter and you've never given up and you're not going to give up and I'm going to see you at the next convention. I then get a call from Mauricio once I've beaten cancer and this next convention is getting in the process of coming up. He says, are you coming to the convention? And I was like, I thought you were joking just to try to motivate me. He's absolutely not. He booked me 2 business class flights, one for me and one for my mentor, Sid. We made our way over. And while I was at the convention, some people started talking about, could you imagine how inspiring it would be if you were to come back and have a comeback fight, and how many people you could inspire? All of a sudden, they planted the seed, and I'm start thinking about this thing. And then Mauricio was like, absolutely not. You're never going to fight again, not after what you've been through. And then I said to him, if I can get a clearance from my doctors and I can prove to you that I've still got what it takes, would you do it? He goes, if you could prove it to me and if you could get me clearance, then I would. Well, once I went back to the gym, I felt like shit. I actually felt really terrible. I was terrible. I was way off par. My jab was terrible. Everything was terrible. My speed, my agility, everything was gone. Then one day I walked into the gym and I told somebody, I said, listen, I don't know why, but I think the penny's going to drop today. Can you film the sparring? And I ended up sparring and I sparred so well. Like I sparred really well. I looked great. And so I said to Mauricio, I think the penny dropped, and I sent him the video and he's like, yeah, you look good. And I sent it to Robert Diaz, who was also helping me with this. Robert Diaz, another beautiful person in my life. And they start talking, and then Mauricio basically says, look, if you want to do it, I'll let you do it. And they organized this comeback fight, and the who's who of boxing was at this convention, and the fight was at the convention. It was in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
And I had the most amazing, the talk about this comeback fight was in Uzbekistan. The comeback fight was in Germany. But I'm talking about the who's who of fighters was there. And I was involved in a 8-round fight. I won a unanimous decision. I won every single round. And basically I was given my flowers at that event. Like it was just the most incredible feeling. I left boxing on my own terms. I left boxing on a high. I fell in love with the sport again. And then to top it off, I get a phone call from Eddie Hearn, who tells me that the Saudis are trying to get in touch with me. And I make my way to London for the Ring Magazine Awards. And while I'm there, I've been nominated for the Comeback of the Year, Comeback Fighter of the Year. And I'm up against Dennis Dubois. I'm up against Nick Ball. I'm up against Angela Leo, another Japanese fighter. So it's 6 people in the category. And Ryan Garcia gets up on the stage and says, the winner of Comeback of the Year is Billy Dib. And the whole auditorium stood up and clapped me all the way to the stage. It was the most amazing moment of my life, man. It was like the recognition that I always wanted. And my love for the sport grew so much after that point. I became nationally recognized by people like Terrence Crawford, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, Canelo Alvarez, all of these amazing fighters who were at this event, Hamza Shiraz, Oscar De La Hoya was there, Shane Mosley. It was the most incredible moment of my life, man. It was like, not only did I get my flowers in Germany, but they also gave them to me in London. And today, because of that event, I have the platform that I have. You know what I mean? And I gained the respect that I gained. And, I get calls from boxing writers like Stephen Smith, who are now writing a massive article about me in the Ring magazine. And, man, I'm just honored, bro. Like, everything that I ever wanted from the sport of boxing, I got. Maybe I didn't get it while I was boxing, but I got it in the end.
When you thought you were lost, little did you know, like, everyone saw you. They gave you a standing ovation. I actually don't know how you held it together.
Yeah, man, my heart was beating really fast. I had to compose myself, but man, you know what I can take from all of that? That God put me through everything that He put me through. God allowed me to come through the cancer journey. So I was diagnosed with cancer. God allowed me to come through it. God allowed me to fight again because God wanted me to get the recognition that I had so yearned for. So I had to go through all of that to get what I wanted. And if it meant turning back the clock and not getting the cancer, I wouldn't do it. I'd take the cancer again.
Wow.
I'd take it again because can I tell you something? God gave me everything that I ever wanted, man. And the platform that I have today to inspire the next generation is unbelievable, man. And that accolade of Ring Magazine Comeback Fighter of the Year is probably one of the greatest achievements of my life.
Far out, Billy. Oh, I've obviously asked you a lot of questions, but you knew I had to throw it out there to the fans, to some celebrities.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple here. First one, funny enough, Tim Tszyu. If you had to go back in time with your professional boxing career, what would you change? And you can't say, I wouldn't change a thing.
If I could change anything, I would go back to the point of the 50 Cent and Floyd Maywether saga. If I could change anything, I would have, I don't know, I would have tried to help Harry from falling into his drug addiction, because I truly believe that I could have achieved a lot of more greater things than I did if he was around. He just had the ability to take me to another level. And the greatest thing about my comeback fight was that I used Harry as the trainer in that comeback fight. So I came into the sport with Harry. I left the sport with Harry.
Far out. This is from Juzzy_98. What do you think about NRL players doing professional boxing and making big money? How do you feel about that?
About like...
Gallons, Mundines.
Yeah, look, I feel like Anthony
Williams.
Mundine is a legitimate fighter. Paul Gallen, you have to call him a legitimate fighter. I have no issue with NRL players coming into the sport as long as they come into it with the respect and give it the respect that it deserves. But don't do both at the same time. Don't box and don't play rugby league at the same time. Don't rape and pillage both sports.
Yep.
Do one or the other. If you believe you can succeed as a fighter, then give it everything you have. I don't hate on them because they built their platform in football and then brought it to boxing. Through doing that, they were able to bring more eyes to the sport of boxing, and I love that.
I'll double down now. What about influencers coming into the sport like your Jake Pauls, Logan Pauls? Obviously, Jake Paul's just announced that he's fighting Anthony Joshua.
I believe that Jake Paul's a real fighter.
Really?
He's training extremely hard. He does everything correctly. He's trying to progress as a fighter. If he didn't have that influencer life before...
He's legitimate.
He's legitimate.
Yeah.
He's just another regular person who comes in and does boxing, but... People hate on him because he had the platform, but he didn't get that platform easy. It came with a lot of hard work.
True.
And he put his life on the line on a lot of occasions to get that platform, you know what I mean? So I believe he's a real fighter. But then you have like a lot of these guys who don't take it serious and just come in and influencer boxing. But let me be honest with you. Influencer boxing is only growing the sport of boxing in a whole.
Well, the only thing that hurt me was like that fight he took up with Mike Tyson.
No, that was rubbish.
Like
that was absolute rubbish. Listen, that's a schmozzle. But I don't blame Jake. At the end of the day,
I don't blame Jake, but
yeah,
like, it hurt
if you come to me today and said to me, "Hey Billy, we want you to fight somebody who's over the hill like
Jeff Fennick,
or Marco Antonio Barrera or Johnny Tapia or Eric Morales, whatever, but it's going to be big money." Of course I would do it.
Yeah.
Of course. It's life-changing money. But let me tell you something. That not only helped Jake, it helped Mike.
Yeah, it's true.
But Mike is a shell of himself.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone knows that. That wasn't Mike Tyson in the ring. That wasn't a real loss. That shouldn't be on Mike Tyson's record as a real loss. That's just an exhibition.
Fuck, it killed me watching it.
Yeah,
I felt like it was hard not to feel sorry for him.
Nah, it's just an exhibition. It's not real.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
How does the purse work with boxers?
Well, the purse works. That's something that's negotiated prior to the fight. Like, let me give you an example. Conor Benn earned $10.5 million the other day to beat Chris Eubank. But Chris Eubank earned a lot more money to lose because the contract was signed. They had originally signed. So from both fights, Eubank made more money, but Conor Benn walks away with the victory in the last fight. It's 1-1. You know what I mean? So, but purses are negotiated before the fight.
Is it very, I had this question before, I forgot to ask it. Is it easy for boxers to get caught up with the fame and the headlines and all the bright lights?
Of course.
I feel like because
it's so easy.
So much temptation.
It's so easy. It's very, very easy to get caught up and think that you're bigger than you are.
Did you ever?
No. I was I never felt like I was bigger than a sport. I was always the most humble person. I was always the most approachable. You know why? Because I just felt like God gave me this platform and God could take it away at any time. So who am I to act like any certain I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular human being. God gave me a platform and God can take it at any time.
Because you see with a lot, not only boxers, but a lot of athletes around the world, they all come from poor upbringings, humble beginnings, right?
Yeah.
When you got nothing and then you get given everything,
Yeah.
it's very hard to have self-control.
Man, let me tell you something. It's to me, that's a blessing. To have nothing and to be given everything, that's a mad blessing, man. It's a test, though.
It is
God's
a test.
testing you to see what you're going to do with it. Are you going to help people? Are you going to become too big-headed and not give?
There you go.
You know what I mean? Is everything that you attain for you only, or are you going to share it? I'm the type that shares it.
Love that. Last question from Espresso Brothers. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice that I've ever received is that the belief starts with me.
That's so true.
The belief starts with me. And for the listeners out there, the belief starts with you. You can do anything you want to do in your life. And let's be honest, okay? God is the creator of the heavens and earth. God created you and I. And God breathed greatness into each and every single one of us. It's just whether you're willing to tap into that greatness to find it. It's in you. Everybody out there, every listener right now has greatness within them. It's just whether they're willing to tap into that greatness to find it. I could take you to the water, but I can't make you drink.
Yep.
That's just what it is. But if you drink that water, you're going to succeed.
My favorite one. If you don't believe in yourself, no one will.
Exactly, man.
I feel like that aligns with you as well.
100%.
Next one is truth or sauce. Let's go, brother. Let's go. I'm sure you're wondering what those chips are there for and the sauce. We spoke off air. So, did you see the photo of that bottle? Did you see it?
No.
You'd be impressed if you want to have a look at it.
Okay. I'm going to take truth, man.
Well, we'll see. Who's the most overrated boxer of all time?
Oh, man. The most overrated boxer of all time?
Is he going to say it?
There's a lot of people out there, but right now, the most overrated boxer is got to be Jake Paul. It's got to be Jake Paul.
But you just gave him a massive rap.
No, I gave him a rap because he's a legitimate fighter, but he's overrated. He's overrated. You know what I mean? I don't rate the victory against Mike Tyson.
No, you don't, not that. Okay.
I didn't even listen. He's a legitimate fighter because he's beating people who fight. But the majority of people on his record are UFC fighters. But the truth is that, you know what I mean? He's still overrated. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there saying that he's okay, he's this and he's that, but he's overrated. And then the other thing is, like, if you want to talk about a professional fighter who, like, I'm talking like is a real pro who's overrated, we're going to talk international.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's you. Hey, the question's directed to you.
Okay. You know, there's a lot of fighters who I feel like are like overrated, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna go with some of the past fighters. You know, obviously there's, man, it's so, like, you know, because you don't want to knock anybody that's not overrated, you know what I mean?
Course.
But let's
I thought you were gonna eat a chip for a second. I was like, there's no way he's gonna answer this.
No. I would definitely say that. Wow. I don't know. I'm sweating. You know, I'm sweating right now. I'm sweating. No, I'm just trying to think, because there's so many fighters out there who have become champions who were really overrated. You know what I mean? They're not as good as they. I would definitely say that.
Like you're saying, like they had an easier path to get the championship.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna be eating the chip, boy. I think I'm eating that chip, man. Because I got a few people in my mind, but I don't want to knock them. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I don't want to knock them. I'm eating the chip. Bro.
Yeah, I knew you would. I knew you would.
Oh no. Oh shit.
Here you go, brother. I'll only put a little bit there.
Oh god.
It's all right.
All right.
You'll be sweet.
Okay.
You'll be fine. Dan. Should we go to question 2?
Yeah.
Don't forget the mic.
Oh man.
Do you like spice?
No.
Oh, shit. Okay. Question 2. What's something about the boxing business you wish you spoke about earlier?
Say it again.
What's something about the boxing business you wish you spoke about earlier?
The crooks in this sport, man. Yeah, I mean, there's so many leeches and so many crooks in this game, man. You know, they take you for a ride. They they promise you the world. They deliver you the atlas, just to get you to sign that contract. You know, what I mean, that's definitely one thing that I would have talked about more.
And had your eyes opened up a bit earlier.
Yeah, of course, but I think you only learn about that with experience.
Of course.
But if I could advise fighters today, I would definitely advise them that make sure to look out for those type of people. Don't let them people in your inner circle.
It's powerful. Ooh, this is a big one. I don't even know if I can say this question. If tomorrow was your last day, what's the one message you want your son to know about the man you really are?
I've already faced that moment in my life. And, when I was sick in hospital, I used to do videos for my son all the time, saying goodbye, wishing him all the best in his life, certain days in his life where I thought were going to be significant. And the one piece of advice that I always gave my son in the videos was, don't ever let anyone push you to do something you don't want to do. Only ever do what you want to do and be a good person. Be good to your mum and be a good person that people in humanity can look up to you and say, yeah, this guy's a good kid. Because for me, as a young man, I wasn't representing myself. First and foremost, I was representing my faith. Secondly, I was representing my mum and my dad. And I always carried myself in a manner that wherever I went, I wanted people to say that that's Haj Ali Dib's son and that's Ahlam's son. And he was such a good kid and he carried himself in a way to make us really proud.
How would you want your son to remember you?
I want him to remember me as somebody who did everything in his power to help people. I want my son to know that. I want him to say, my dad used this platform to inspire people through his own journey. My dad never shied away from the truth. My dad never held things in to himself, like for himself. He shared it with the world. Hence the reason why I told you with my autobiography, I've been an open book, because I want people to learn from my experiences. I believe it's an absolute travesty that people can go through certain things in their life and not share it with the world. How can you not share your ups? How can you not share your downs? How can you not allow people to learn from your mistakes? I think that's a travesty.
I feel like a rock. I've swallowed a rock. There's something sitting on my chest. Far out. Whew. You get to ask me whatever you like now. You get to return serve. So
I want to ask you a question, because you're, in my eyes, you're an elite athlete, and I want to know, are you of the same mindset as me? Do you believe that to be a special athlete, you need to be cut from a different kind of cloth? Do you believe that you need to be willing to outwork the rest to be where you are today?
I agree. I believe, I think hard work trumps talent every day of the week. Trump will get you so far, but if you don't have the hard work that comes with it, you're not going to succeed. I've seen, particularly at a young age, I wasn't a talented kid. I'll be totally honest with you. But the one thing that I had an edge over other players was my hard work. And I had that in my head every single time I trained. I was going to outwork anyone. I didn't care. I think some of it stems from my upbringing. I faced a lot of challenges as a kid, and similar to you, Billy, like I never wanted to give up.
Yeah.
Ever. I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to prove me right. That was the one thing I was always striving for. And at a young age, like you said, we start off with a dream. We start with a thought, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not putting action into it,
Yep.
it's just a dream. Just
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
So yeah, I truly believe that hard work will get you to the top, not talent.
I love that, man. I love it.
Not talent, 100%. I truly believe that to my core. Like even with the kids that I train, and I'm sure you say to the kids and the athletes you've got coming through your stable, like always to enforce hard work, because as long as you've got that hard work ethic, you'll develop. But talent, yeah, okay, you might have the edge at a certain period, but if you let that take advantage of you, everyone's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah.
It's just bound.
Yeah.
Bound to happen.
Talent without hard work is a waste.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I can't stand. That's what I feel like is a travesty.
Yeah.
That you've got all this talent in the world, but you don't put it to good use.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like how good you actually got it.
I love that, man. Brother,
It's
thank
been
you
an
so much.
absolute pleasure, my man.
I appreciate you, man. Legend.
I love you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
man. I appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for having me on your platform. To all of the listeners out there, honestly, do buy the book. It's a game changer. Boys Can Cry, Billy Dib does too. And if you want to read a book that's gonna, give you an insight on my life and show you that no matter what you go through in your life, with hard work and dedication, anything is possible. A true heart, the fights of my life. Check them out.
You heard it from the man yourself. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, guys.